Hey guys, Majin Obama here, and today I want to talk to you guys about a topic that I think kind of eludes a lot of beginners and can be a point of frustration for a lot of people learning Tekken, and that's getting up off the ground and getting back into the fight, the wake-up game. And something that I think makes it kind of difficult for Tekken beginners is there's so many options, it can be hard to know which ones to consider. So let's just start by going through all the options that you have and be able to get to the mentality of getting up in this game. So here, you're knocked down, and this is the most common situation in the game, where your character is going to be knocked down, face up, feet towards the opponent. Getting knocked down in Tekken, you want to think about it as 4 different stances almost. There's the face up position with the feet towards the opponent. There's the face down position with the feet towards the opponent. There's your face up, head towards the opponent, and there's face down, head towards the opponent. And you want to think of them as stances because some of them have the same follow-up attacks and the same options to be able to get out of them. Some of them, you're locked out of certain options. Some of them, you might have the same options, but they behave differently. These are things also that you'll become more familiar with it the more you play the game. You'll get used to certain knockdown situations in the game that you have to play around them. But first, just consider your basic options. So from this position, right, you can always just hold back and you'll create some space between your opponent. Your character will do this little back shimmy up off the ground and be able to create some space and get back into the fight this way. You can also tap up and you'll recover in place. If you're feeling risky, you can hold forward and your character will do a roll. And during the roll, if you hit both punches, and you'll see here this is important, if it connects, it's your frame advantage. You know, it's your turn to pressure. However, you should know that you are vulnerable during this period. If your opponent kind of sniffs it out, they'll be able to float you and be able to attack you and score some damage. Also of note is the ability to roll in this position. This is important. We'll get more into detail with this later. By pressing the left punch button, right? Not the right punch, but the left punch button, your character will roll into the background this way. By hitting down in the left punch button, your character rolls into the foreground. This is a key concept. You can use being grounded to create positional advantages or escapes for you as a player. The other thing you can do is wake up kick, right? So I'm sure you guys see this a lot. Wake up low kick or wake up mid kick. Mid kick you do by pressing the right kick button. And you can see there, it's safe. -9, you're safe. You can also do wake up low kick, which is also safe. But what's also important to note here is that you have the option of pressing both of those kicks to do a very aggressive spring kick to be able to get back up. Spring kick is a bit of a commitment because actually it's very unsafe. However, there's a caveat to it. Depending on how deep the spring kick hits you or your opponent blocks it, it's varying degrees of unsafe. So for example, see there, it was only -13 from there, so I can only do a 13 frame punish. But if I'm up close, it's very unsafe. I can launch him for this. Whereas if it hits tip range, it was only 11 frames that time. So that's something you have to bear in mind too. Yeah, it's unsafe, but depending on how deep you block it, you might have to settle for a 10 frame punish versus trying to launch, or you have to make a judgment call basically. And that's what kind of makes it dicey. And spring kicking like that is a good option too for being able to try to interrupt your opponent's offense. But all the get up kicks really can be. If they knock you down with something, right, and they're trying to press, you spring kick is a solid answer to be able to try to break up that offensive rhythm like that. You also have access to this emergency toe tap kick. But the interesting thing of note with it is that you saw there, -18. It's launchable. It's like very unsafe. However, it's very fast, and it's good for breaking up offense if your opponent, again, is trying to pressure you really hard. Maybe they only need 1 hit, so they're going to try to do a very fast option. It's good for being able to try to interrupt that and be able to get out, create some space, and maybe you have one more shot at being able to play the round out. You have a lot of options, right? Now, when you go to other knockdown positions, some of these actions kind of change. Remember what I was saying about them being stances? Well, look at this position. Now my head is towards the opponent, I'm face down, but if I hit the left kick button, which before would do a low kick, right? I still do that low kick, it's still safe, but it's much slower, so it's a bigger risk. Same with the mid kick. That's the concept here, is it depends on your wake up. Now you can of course hold back and recover backwards. You still have access to your rolls. You still have access to just tapping up. You can still roll, but you can't spring kick from this position. And so something I want to point out is also your ability to weave these options together. Again, use the roll to create a positional advantage for myself, but also maybe my opponent wants to try to pursue it. They're just dashing at me. You can get up and kick them after rolling. or get up and hit him low. You can weave some of the options together like that to kind of create dynamic wake-up options. Another bit to the wake-up game, you have the option of being able to do ukemi, which is the act of falling safely. So for example, if I'm playing a Kazuya player and he's just electrocuting me like this, some attacks will allow you to be able to ukemi, tech roll. As soon as your character hits the ground, if you tap the kick buttons, they'll roll into the foreground. If you tap the punch buttons, they'll roll into the background. Like this. And basically, there's a little bit of invincibility, but you're able to quickly be able to get into the fight like this and not spend too much time knocked down. You also have the option of being able to do it backwards. Like so. And you do that just by tapping back as soon as you hit the ground. If you tap forward when you do it, your character will do a spring in place like this. And it's kind of risky because you can be hit from that position, but sometimes can be useful, I suppose. I want to emphasize to you, while it's cool to kind of have a built-in habit or approach to getting up like this, you have to be highly conscious of the options that you are going to, and you want to generally rotate options. And that's something you'll see why in just a moment. All right, so remember what we were saying about like how some recoveries, if you just hold back, you're able to gain some space between you and your opponent. There are characters that can create situations where you will recover in a way to where if you default to just holding back, they can actually expose a period of time where your character might be back turned, and they can actually punish you very heavily for it. So I'll show you one example. Take a look at this. Drag is going to hit you with his blizzard throw. That's his 1+2. Take note about how Kazuya recovers from this. Look at the knockdown. It's head towards, feet away. Now, actually, from this position, if you were to hold back, there's a moment where Kazuya's back is exposed to drag, and he can take advantage of that. So watch this. This is if you're holding back on this wake up. He gets a free launch. You just got launched for holding back. That's Tekken. Take a look at this knockdown that Jun can create. Notice anything about it? If you're holding back in this situation, there's a moment where you recover, where Jun or Asuka can take advantage of it. See how your character kind of exposes their back when they recover like that? There it is. And that's just, you got punished for holding back. That's pretty much it. This is just an example of how you can't default to one wake up the whole time, or it will punish you in certain situations. Another thing to consider is that sometimes, and this is kind of maybe a little unintuitive for some people, sometimes it's better just to stay down. Because here's the thing. When you take a hit like this on the floor, the damage is quite low. The damage is going to be lower than what it normally would be. When you do get hit, the rule is it resets the action that you can take on the ground. What that means is if they score another attack on you, it gives you another opportunity to roll out, create space, or try to do a kick to be able to try to break their momentum. It's like if it's just a small sliver of health while you're grounded, it's not that big of a deal. But some characters like Kaz, like Paul, they have these big attacks that'll hit you while you're grounded and do chunks of damage. So it forces you to have to do something, but sometimes it's better to even take that amount of damage and just kind of move away. Now we can get back and fight, you know? However, there are other cases where you kind of are forced to take action. This is a fringe case, of course, in Tekken 8. So let's say you get hit by Azusen running 3-2. Low-level players are going to be doing this to you all day. So you're like, okay, I just got hit. I'm going to just stay down because low-level, they're just going to do it to you again. They're just going to do it to you again, right? In some scenarios, she can actually punish you for staying down. And though this isn't common in Tekken 8, it does exist. With the wake-up game in Tekken, there is no one-size-fits-all answer. There's always going to be exceptions and cases where you're going to have to weigh heavily your knockdown state versus the character that you're playing versus the state of the match. And so now I want to show you some examples where, you know, it is a good idea to stay down. Take a look at Asuka, right? Her forward 3 is a move that at first is just a mid kick like this. But she can actually charge it. If she charges it all the way, that's unblockable. What's a way that you'll see players use it? Especially at lower level, you'll see this. They'll end the combo short here and then go into the spin, right? To the point where if you're just holding back, this is what happens. And you'll wake up into it. That's an example. One way that you can counterplay this is by doing this. Stay down. Sometimes it's okay, and sometimes the correct answer is to just stay down. With regards to the rest of the wake-up game, you have to be considering all those options, and you're ultimately playing a back and forth with your opponent. So for example, take a look at Paul, right? And there's a few other characters you could slide into the slot, right? Kazuya is kind of the same way. All the Mishima is kind of, fundamentally the same way. But I think this is one of the more brutal examples. You have Demo Man. a low starter that goes into the wall, especially at the wall. This is what's important. Now, generally, you want to go to the right side of Paul. You want to go to your right side, his left. But at the wall, when you're knocked down, oh, wait, you can move while you're on the ground, right? Weave all those options that we talked about together to create a defensive movement and opportunity for yourself to be able to get off the wall and break their offense. Now, of course, he also has the threat of some attacks like this one that hit grounded. And those do a big chunk of damage too. But you have to weigh risk reward, and ultimately, like, sometimes it's about taking the lesser of two evils, right? If you get hit again at the wall by this Death Fist mix-up, you're probably going to lose the round. You can take a few of these, you know? Even while grounded, you can take some of these. So sometimes it's better just to take that medium hit instead of the big hit at the wall, you know? This guy, he's got me at the wall. Oh, no. Now what do? Hey, maybe stay down. Throw off his timing a little bit. I'm going out to the right side, and now I'm out. Now we can play the game again. Okay, well, maybe he knocks me down. Maybe he does some down hits or something like that. Like so? Yeah. Okay, I'm willing to take that. I'm willing to take that and get out. Just to be able to get away from that positioning where he was really threatening. So you're negotiating with your opponent the terms that you're going to go back into the match. I hope this helps. This is kind of the mentality with a lot of the knockdown scenarios that Tekken will present to you. There are some options that are outright better than others, generally, or safer, but you should keep everything on the table. There are a lot of scenarios where maybe if someone's trying to pressure you, you know, maybe you want to spring kick here just to throw off their timing. Maybe you want to just roll and then get up. But the whole time you're playing with your opponent and you're playing based around their offense and you're representing options that might disrupt that. Anyway, I hope this helps. I'll talk to you guys later. Everybody be easy.